this video is trying to explain a few simple commands for the debugger. We're going to use the built-in Python debugger, the module pdb, I guess standing for Python debugger. We're going to show a very simple code called loop. So what you notice is when we execute in the debugger, it's not running as without the -m. This is to give you the interface to do what you want, to control it in some fashion to see what's going on. So the very first command to show you would be help, which can be simplified as just h without any command, without any parameter. It shows all the possible commands. If you want to show something more detailed, for instance, the next one called list that we're going to use, let's take a look. Okay, so you can list the source code. You can show where you want from the second line to the 25th line. You can do that, or without any argument, it will try to list just 11 lines. So let me clear the screen. And by the way, this can be done with Control L on your terminal. So let's do list. Now we see all the lines of the code. It's a very simple code, and the next line to be executed is shown by this little arrow over here. So that's the first statement. It's a defined statement. If we execute it, it will simply associate the statements, in this case very simple, just one statement over here, now with the function name square that takes one parameter n. Okay, so the next step would be to execute the program step by step, and you guessed it, the command to do that is s. Okay, again, you can see that single step. What we can do is this. Now we see that we can list the program again. Now the arrow has moved down because we executed statement 2, and line 3 has no statement, so the next statement to execute is line 4. Okay? So the next command I want to show you is called print. Okay? It tells you what the value of a variable is. So suppose I can print I. I is not defined. Why is that? Okay, we haven't executed the command I equal 1. So let's step. Now, if we look at it again, we executed this statement, and the arrow is pointing to the next statement. We can actually look at I, and in fact, this is where you can even make some changes. I don't know, let's assign it to 10. If I assign I to 10, and what will happen is the comparison would fail. I will no longer be less than 10, and the while loop will fall through, and we will execute nothing. And so that's indeed what we did. Okay. So we're done. So we can look at the code. We're at the end of the file, and we're all done. And at this time, we can do restart and do this whole thing again. Maybe we will now try another command, which is setting breakpoint. Breakpoint is different. S, or single step, allows you to execute one line at a time. Sometimes we don't want to do that. We want the program to run and only stop at a certain place. Let's say in this case, we wanted to stop at P, at print statement, line 6. And that's the break command, which can be simplified as simply B. And of course, you can figure out all the details about B. Really doesn't matter for this very simple case. We can simply do B6, which says please set a breakpoint at line 6. If you type B alone, it will show you how many breakpoints you've set. Okay. So now we can run the code. And now we are, and count is continue, basically continue execution. We run past a whole bunch of statement, and we are at the breakpoint, as you can see indicated by this B over here. And if you want to see what I is, it's 1. Okay, this is the first step, and we can again continue. And this time we see The problem with debugging sometimes is there's a lot of printing. Some of that is printed by your program, others by the debugger itself. This one is actually the printout. This is the carrying out this statement, print square of 1, which is 1. That's being printed. Now the debugger execute the next step, comes back, and stop at the breakpoint again, which we can tell by looking at I. Okay, so that's setting breakpoint.